Now, just a few minutes ago, Bitcoin closed out the Sunday session. I told you I was watching this carefully to see if we would close above the 2017 trend line. This trend line has acted as resistance over and over again, and it's where we've gotten rejection. It was the 2017 top connected with the two peaks in 2021. Here I've excluded the shadows, here including the shadows, but we came right up to those peaks in the first part of 2021 and the second part of 2021 that marked the November 2021 top. Well, we've gravitated right back up to this trend line yet again, their December 2024 top and our January 2025 top, and then just underneath it, May 22nd top here in 2025. Now we've exceeded that, and we're now overthrowing this level. That is a sign of strength. That is a positive event if we could stay above that trend line. We get a pullback and we just stay above it, throw back and go slightly below it, and then get above it and back test it. That would be positive. Falling back below it and then not being able to get back above it, that would be a sign of weakness. So a sign of strength here for the bulls. Again, after going sideways, we've seen everything turn back to bullish with the breakout above the resistance zone, and now we're clearing this area here in the weekly time frame. We're up 9% for the week, just under 9%. We did clear this trend line on a closing basis. That is a bullish event. Forming negative divergence on the 4-hour chart. If we pull back, I'll be watching. Do we test this trend line or do we drop back below it? If we end up pulling back at some point, the negative divergence on the 4-hour chart gives us some kind of sell-off. We closed strong. We had a strong weekly close. It's a positive sign for Bitcoin. That was a linear scaling that I just showed you. This is the log scaling on Bitcoin. We can clear that trend line and stay above it, which we've now cleared it. Can we stay above it? Then again, it's possible we have wave 3 and we're on our way up to this upper channel line. As you know, again, this is where I think Bitcoin's going to top. I think that this upper channel is going to be reached. Now, if we reach it sooner rather than later, then the target will be lower. If we take our time reaching it, the target will be higher. I think it's going to come in somewhere between 150,000 and 175,000. And if it takes longer, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it goes even higher, 180, 185, 190,000, something like that. My guess is Bitcoin is likely going to try to make it to the 150 to 175,000 area. I think that this upper channel is going to end up marking a top. If we've now completed wave 2 and we're in wave 3, again, maybe we get some kind of pullback. If we are in wave 3, then the low, our recent low here, marked for wave 2, should hold if wave 2 is in fact done. If you look at the red count here, well, after the blue count, wave 4 over here, I think we've got a massive wave 5 or the super cycle. I think we're unfolding right now in these 5 primary waves that will eventually give us a 5-leg push from this blue wave 4 in a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then now this wave 5 to complete the red Roman numeral 5 there, and it unfolds in a 5-leg push higher, and that gives us a top. And again, this count shows, okay, right here I pushed this out to September. It may be sooner. It may be before August ends or early September. But again, this is what I think is going on longer term for Bitcoin. But I think it's probably going to reach a target of somewhere between about 150 and 175,000. The inverse head and shoulders pattern that we're setting up here measures to that 150,000 area. Now, I'm doing two things. I'm holding a position longer term up to this trend line, because that's where I believe we're headed, and I'm ignoring short-term price fluctuations along the way, taking the position in the double bottom. I believe that this is where we're headed. Also trying to swing trade, as I've talked about. I'm doing both swing trading, and I'm holding this longer term over multiple months. I remain long on Bitcoin with my core position and believe that we're headed up to this trend line when we reach it at some point, I will sell my core position. I have a core position because I'm trading Bitcoin back and forth, and I just recently got stopped out on a trade. I was long and I caught this move, most of this move higher. Tried to short, we didn't get very much of a sell-off, and I got stopped out. So I know Bitcoin's not going to just keep going. My signals are now back to bullish, so that's why I have a core position. Also a trader, so I've tried to trade the swings back and forth. Great success with wave 1, not good success at all with wave 2, if it is in fact now done. I have no short-term swing trade position. I'll be looking at the next opportunity, so looking to see, okay, are we now in this wave 3? And if we are, this could be a powerful wave 3 higher, so just keep that in mind. We had that breakout. I told you if we break out, it's legit, then the bulls are back in the driver's seat, and I remain long-term bullish here on Bitcoin for the next few months here. But I think we could see a peak in August, September, or October, depending on how quickly we reach this trend line. The S&P and NASDAQ are going to pull back, and then I think we're going to get one more push higher that's probably going to create a peak in August or September, maybe drag into October. Don't get the extended wave 5 scenario on the stock market. There's major resistance on the 65 to 6,700 area on the S&P 500. If they top over the summer or on into the fall, the NASDAQ and S&P, Bitcoin could top around that same time. So do keep that in mind. Long-term core position playing out beautifully. Got the perfect entry point. My swing trade higher. Played out very nicely. Short position not so nicely. Let me show you the chart. Told you over here we may have a bottom or we may not have a bottom. We were going sideways. The signals were mixed. Ended up just getting a shallow sell-off of 12%. We didn't even hit the 38.2 Fibonacci. In the 4-hour time frame with Bitcoin, we're now forming a divergence that could give us a short-term pullback, and we could still end up going higher with our breakout of the resistance zone, now holding above it and clearing the trend line in the weekly time frame. These are all signs of strength. Even if we form this divergence, it may just give us a pullback to the trend line in the weekly time frame or a trend line, a back test to the trend line horizontal support. Resistance zone is now turned support. We cleared that area. If we clear this area right here, the upper end here, that I was going to get stopped out. Again, I'm still holding my long-term core position. I'm still long. That lower high, I tried a short position. But so far, that has ended with what I've marked here as a WXY correction. We went sideways, and again, if we do now have a 1 and a 2, it's possible that we're in the primary wave 3 here. Smaller moves, and again, this is speculation right here. Again, L8 wave is speculation. This whole thing could be a 1, and we could pull back for a 2, certainly possible. Again, L8 wave is speculation, but we have a breakout, okay? And that means the bulls are now back in control. Close above that trend line is a sign of strength. The breakout holding above the resistance zone is a sign of strength. So again, if we got rejection, resistance zone, or just above it, that would be a sign of weakness. If we cleared it, that would be a sign of strength. We had a lower high right here, and I told you we were likely going to go lower. We ended up doing that, but it was very short-lived. I went short here, got stopped out, had a 50% rise on the bull side. I caught most of that move with my position. My short position, trying to play the correction, it didn't work out because we had the choppiness. I have no swing trade position right now, looking for my next opportunity. I might play this divergence for the short term. If the divergence might form, we might just get a small pullback and keep going. Because we've had the breakout now. So we'll be watching. Right now I have no position, and again, we're back to bullish, so short positions would be risky if we are in a wave 3. So I'm watching this closely. So I'm still holding my long, currently have no swing trade position. And again, I continue to be long-term bullish. I believe Bitcoin's going much higher. I think it's going to peak in a couple of months here. 150 and 175,000 area. I'll see, but what becomes of this divergence right here, and again, possibly might consider playing it. Had Trump announced the tariffs on Mexico, freights for Mexico and the EU at 30%. S&P and NASDAQ futures had a negative reaction to that. The open here on Sunday, probably either topping or about getting ready to top, and they still might go higher. Those are actually still bullish for the S&P 500. Bitcoin right now is just kind of shrugging the news off. So again, eventually these tariffs out of the market. We're going to get the inflation data on Tuesday before the market opens with the CPI, and then Wednesday we'll get the PPI, which is wholesale inflation. It's going to likely tick up. I've been predicting that the CPI inflation, if you go watch my other videos, stock channel, my Ron Walker channel, you know that through the CPI data, and again, I'm expecting it to tick back up. The actual consensus is that it's going to tick back up. Markets could just shrug that off initially. Again, I eventually believe see an inflation freak out. We might see a preview of that right here with this pullback we're going to get in the stock market. Maybe we get a pullback with Bitcoin, but maybe it's just a back test. If we now have this breakout, we'll be watching this area right here, the breakout point right here on Bitcoin, because that is the 112,000 area above this high over here. That's now support. Watching to see what becomes of this divergence right here. Do we pull back, and does 112,000 now hold, and does that trend line hold in our weekly time frame that I'm showing you? Parameter holding in positive territory. The MACD is forming a divergence. Like I'm saying, you're seeing that with futures, and here with the Bitcoin price, may not be done yet. We may pull back and just get a small pullback and go much higher. We are moving up here to extremes on the RSI, so we'll be watching. Do we get some kind of pullback and then a larger divergence ends up developing here over time that may complete a larger divergence here on the MACD, but we've had a breakout. So if this is the right shoulder here, question mark, then the inverse head and shoulders is done. This pattern measures to about the 156,000 area, and if we do have the right shoulder with just a shallow pullback of 12%, then again we'll need to see pullback. If we broke it out here, this level, this 112,000 area, now support. If we pull back to 112,000, continue onward and upward, the bearish scenario would be that we fail there and that we don't have shoulder done yet. If we hold above 112,000, that becomes less likely, but it's still a possibility if we have a head fake, a breakout above this level, and then it ends up failing, a failed breakout really. Again, I believe the inverse head and shoulders actually take us much higher, but the breakout, assume our bull flag and our shoulder is done. I'm still questioning it, saying, do we have a drop below 112,000 on the next pullback? I'll be watching closely. The signals remain bullish after going sideways since May 22nd. We had the sell-off, didn't get much of a sell-off, 12%. We've been going sideways. We now get a breakout. So now pullback, 112,000 is key support. We've cleared the resistance zone from this peak right here and the peak over here at 112,000. That is now support between the 110 and 112,000 on those two peaks, 110, 112,000 levels. One thing I want you to be aware of is that if every bar continues above the bar from 4 bars ago, we have a possible 9 count that will complete on Wednesday. That's the day we get the PPI inflation. Before that, the CPI on Tuesday before the stock market opens up there. Again, sometimes these counts complete, sometimes they don't. If we do get it, it could mean we can get a pullback, a counter trend like right here. We got a 9 count. All it was a counter trend back to the 50, and then we got a trend extension, and we ended up getting the bottom with the 13, but overthrew it just a little bit. Other times, then rather than a counter trend, reversals like the 13 count here at the December top, the 9 count here the day after the January top. Here our lower high was a 13 count. Now we're going to get possibly a 13 followed by a 9. It's a reversal pattern. Could just be, again, we pull back, and then again, I believe Bitcoin's going much higher, so don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it could show short-term price exhaustion in the near future. Maybe the stock market starts selling off and playing catch-up to Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin had this sell-off. The stock market didn't really get much of a sell-off. Moving to new highs, and then after that, Bitcoin reached new highs. Again, so did Bitcoin already have its correction? We get a mild correction, and we're in a wave 3, and we go much higher. Or the breakout, do we have a failed breakout else is going on. So I'm going to be watching closely. But again, my signals are bullish. Did you hear what I just said? My signals are bullish. Okay? Remain long-term bullish on Bitcoin. Telling you I'm going to be watching because the stock market's giving warning signs. Now, we may just get a 9 count and continue onward and upward, get a mild pullback or somewhat of a pullback. Again, something like this where we got a counter trend back to the 50 period. Maybe we get a pullback back to some of these moving averages, but we do have a possible, no guarantee it plays out. Every bar has to be above the bar from 4 bars ago, but we do have a possible 7 of a 9 that's starting here in the Monday session. Now, if we close below the bar from 4 bars ago, 1, 2, 3, 4, if we close below this bar right here on Monday, then the count gets canceled out. And each day, if you close below the bar from the close from the previous day, then the count gets canceled out. But you've got a possible 9 count. This is Monday's bar that just started a little bit ago. We just had the close of the Sunday session in this hour, and it means that Tuesday could be bar 8, Wednesday could be bar 9. Now, bar 8 may be the high of the count. Bar 8 or 9 could be the high of the count, or you may complete the count and still go a little higher before the pullback happens. If the count does complete, we don't know if the pullback is going to be big or small. We just don't know, but we've had a breakout. You have to respect that. Again, I remain long-term bullish. We'll be watching to see what becomes of this count. Signals remain bullish. And I'm a trader. My signals go back and forth, back and forth. Went through this sideways stuff where the signals were just going, showing that we were just trendless, going back and forth with this move down and up and down. And now, sideways, now we're going up. The signals are all now bullish. Just telling you, as long as my signals remain bullish, we could be in wave 3. This low can hold right here, and we can end up going much, much higher. Remember, my target level is 150 to 175,000. I remain long in my with my core position. Watching, do we end up getting some kind of pullback? The divergence in the 4-hour time frame, or with this 9 count in the daily time frame? Got the bottoming signal on the 22nd with a lot of my indicators here, back and forth, back and forth. Now back to bullish with our breakout, remaining bullish. Signals can remain bullish. Just get a back test. Again, we could be in wave 3, we can go higher, but no topping signals. We had a bottoming signal, no topping signal here whatsoever. Signals are still bullish. I'm just going to quickly run through my charts and let you look at my indicators. Right here, we're getting another red circle, and then now it's going away again. It has to be there by the close, and then that suggests we either get a pullback or a reversal. Right here, we got the signal, but it was only a small pullback. Here, it was a larger pullback. Here, we got a reversal. Over here, we had a bottom. Over here, we had a top. It just tells me where price might pull back or reverse at, and tell me how big a pullback or reversal might be. Leading up to this top, we had the smaller pullbacks here and here, and again, that's what this was right here. So again, I'll be watching. Right now we had a red circle, as you saw a second ago. It's gone away. I'll be watching to see if we see any kind of signs of that, and if we do, it just means we get a pullback reversal. And if we just get a pullback, then you want to be watching the 112,000 to 110,000 area, breakout area, which is, again, the resistance now turns support. That's where the orange line is as well. So again, we'll be watching. If we do try to back test the breakout, if it fails, then you come back and you start losing the orange line and losing the purple line right there. So if this signal marked a bottom, made new highs, this signal only marked a pullback. But signals remain bullish. And again, even if we end up pulling back testing divergence on the 4-hour chart, you still may end up forming a larger divergence and end up going higher if we are in wave 3. And with the breakout, that's likely that we're in wave 3. We had mixed signals, but we ended up flipping them to bullish with our breakout. I told you we had to be able to clear the 112,000 area and then flip our signals back to bullish, and they are all now bullish. If we pull back and they remain that way, then we could just back test the breakout. But right now, signals are back to bullish. If they flip back to bearish, Bitcoin could end up getting a bigger sell-off. to see, is there a decoupling going on between Bitcoin and the S&P and the stock market? Does the stock market pull back and Bitcoin ends up going higher? So they have a positive correlation. Bitcoin sold off in May and June. Market kept going higher. Bitcoin's going higher. So again, got to be watching. Stock market now try to play catch up. They both end up correcting together. Is Bitcoin's correction just going to be mild? Things to be considering and looking at. But right now we have a breakout and we have bullish signals. So Bitcoin ended up going higher. We had a trending move here to the downside. We had a trending move here to the upside. And then we started going sideways, back and forth, back and forth. And now things are remaining positive after going back and forth on my indicators. And remain positive. We could have a massive wave 3 on our hands, pullback, but still end up going much higher. We'll be watching to see what kind of pullback we get with Bitcoin on the next sell-off. And if we get a pullback, does 110 to 112,000, does it hold? Again, really good trending signals down, up, got the reversal, we got bottoming signals, and then we had the reversal signal here, but then we started getting the chop and slop going sideways. Didn't get much of a sell-off, only 12%. Bottoming signals right here, but it doesn't tell me, is that a bottom or is it a counter trend? That low holds now, that's a bottom. Broke out of the bull flag and we cleared the overhead resistance. So again, a breakout. After the chop and slop, we now have blue bars and they're remaining blue. So we'll see if they start turning red, then get a pullback. And if they do turn red, if it's a more mild pullback, they may remain blue. But if it's a bigger pullback, they'll turn red. Watching that 110 to 112,000 area. That's resistance, now turn support. The trend line in the weekly time frame, that's resistance, now turn support. So you get a pullback and it's just more of a mild pullback. That 112, 110, 112,000 area is key support. As long as we see things remain bullish like the cloud here, then again, signals can remain bullish. Can get an extended wave 3 and we can just get more mild pullbacks to form an extended wave 3. I'll be watching this weekly trend line. I'll be watching the trend line of horizontal support on those 4-hour charts. Resistance zone now turns support. Get the bottoming signal here for Bitcoin. Again, there's no topping signals over here. I had some topping signals over here, but not all my signals. We had this correction where we saw signals go from bullish to bearish to bullish to bearish, because sideways. We've signals turn back to bullish and they've remained that way. Previously tried to get a little topping tail here, but we didn't close that way, so that signal went away before the bullish signal remains. Again, I did get some topping signals over at the May 22nd peak. Right here, it was just after it. I got the bottoming signals over here. Nice topping signals over here. We had the bottoming signal the day after the June 22nd bottom. That signal on the 23rd, and so far that signal remains, and it flipped signals back to bullish. Again, going sideways. So signals are bullish. No sell signals on indicators of yet. And if they show up, it might just be a pullback, a mild pullback. You have that divergence setting up in the 4-hour time frame. It might just be a mild pullback. Wave 3, we can go a whole lot higher. And mixed signals, and then we had the breakout. Signals now remain bullish. We're seeing signs of strength. I had a lot of signals turning back and forth here with the bigger, looking at the bigger trend, and that's what I'm doing here. When we cleared the resistance zone, we got back above the cloud, back above the ribbon, and the bars turned back to blue, the background turned back to green, and you got a bullish signal there. This is looking at the bigger trend. It bottomed, it turned back to bullish here, and it rose. We bounced off the ribbon. We got that lower high, then we broke it, and bars turned red. We saw the sideways move, and now we have a breakout of the sideways move and flipping back to bullish at the very breakout bar there above the 112,000 area. If the longer term trend can remain bullish, then we can go higher. If this signal ends up failing, then something else is going on. Again, my signals are all back to bullish. Had a breakout, that so far is holding. Bulls are in control. If we get a pullback, watch the 110 to 112,000 area, which is the resistance zone. With Bitcoin closing for the Sunday session and the futures opening for the Sunday session, the Bitcoin futures, we have here the Bitcoin futures daily chart. We're continuing to rise, but we are forming these negative divergences. We still have a bullish reversal of conditions. Remember, we are going back and forth on going sideways. Here we bounced out the 50-period moving average with Bitcoin futures. So again, it's all turned bullish, but we're up at extremes here with the stochastic, and we are forming negative divergences, but they may not be done yet. They could still be under construction.